It is down to the last two teams of the MLS season here in 2024. Joe Tutino, the longtime voice of the LA Galaxy, good enough to give us a couple of minutes here. Joe, appreciate your time. I know a busy week for everybody. Red Bull making their second appearance ever in MLS Cup. It's been 16 years since 2008. A Galaxy team, which so many would say the standard in Major League Soccer. But I think you're the perfect person to ask this. This is a team that's not so far removed from not making the playoffs even over the course of the last few years. This has been a remarkable turnaround for Greg Vanney and what the Galaxy have been able to do.
It's been an incredible offseason, a retool in the club and getting the type of players that I think Greg Vanney wanted originally. And they just couldn't come to that realization. And I think he and Will Coons make a great team. And they went out and found the guys that needed to be on this club, guys that not only have speed, but also can contribute, whether it's assists or goals. And we've seen that across the front line to help out Dejan Joveljic, who's had two great seasons for the LA Galaxy. And I think that's also allowed Riqui Puig to develop to be one of the best midfielders in the league.
Clearly, Puig not playing. That's been the story all during the course of the week. He's gotten such accolades for continuing to play after looked like tearing the ACL in that second half. I know you've probably been asked this. I know you probably went to bed thinking about it and woke up thinking about it. What does this mean for the Galaxy without, in essence, their best player going into Major League Soccer's biggest game?
I think maybe it just kind of, if the light hasn't gone on for the entire group, it has now, that they need to up their game. And I think maybe it already was the case, knowing that this is the biggest game of their lives, I would think, playing a championship game in this league and at the highest level they've been in, I think, at this point. So to me, it's everybody's going to up their game and everybody's going to try to do their jobs the best possible. Now, the Galaxy has played games without Riqui this year, whether it was a suspension or some injuries or whatever was going on at the time. And they fared rather well in those particular games. And they're a different club. They don't have a magician in the middle of the park, doing what his wizardry and making those runs. And they'll have to move the ball around quickly in order to capitalize and get advance of any type of pressure that might happen there. But sure, it's in the back of your mind that your best player is not there. But I think the club itself has players that have been there before, has a coach that has been there before, and I think they'll be able to deal with it, especially at home. If it's on the road, it's different. But you're at home, and you feel good about that.
When you talk about the home environment, it's been so good for the Galaxy all during the course of this season at their home field. I did an interview today with someone and said it's a little misleading if you go on the MLS standings page and see 13-1-3. Well, people forget that one loss was at the Rose Bowl against LAFC. So they have been undefeated at home during the course of this season. Joe, take me through the playoff round by round. I mean, just a demolishing of Colorado and Minnesota. Obviously, a tight game over the course of last weekend with Seattle. Even without Riqui Puig, you think of the front three and maybe some of the other pieces. This is a team that in transition, in the final third offensively, is so dangerous.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's the thing about it. I know throughout the season, everybody would say, well, the Galaxy is just going to outscore everybody. And early in the season, they were giving up a lot of set-piece goals, corner kick goals and free kick goals. And that was the biggest problem. I think the number was 17 in the first third of the season or something like that. And that was the biggest head scratcher. And they figured that out probably about that same time. The other addition, I think, to the club who's really made a great impact defensively for the Galaxy is Amiro Garces. The big center back he's got speed that would be more of a wing back type of guy, but he's a center back and he can mark up and he can press up high and he can recover well and he's done a very good job in that regard and he allows for the rest of that back line to settle down. And when everything settles down there, that offense can finally switch to another gear, and I think that's what's happened.
When you think of it over your years with the club, clearly you've seen some amazing teams come in, win MLS Cup or make MLS Cup. Tell me from a fan perspective, how has the fan base gravitated toward this year's team after a few years of struggle and now right back towards the top of the Western Conference in Major League Soccer overall?
It's been kind of a renaissance. It's an interesting renaissance, and then I've always looked at it that we've had a first generation that was around for the two championships, but hardship. 96 losing, 99 losing, 2001 losing, and then 2002 getting their first, and 05 with a club that probably, I think a lot of MLS pundits would say, should not have won it, but they won the double that year. And then there was this dark period until Bruce came on board for the Galaxy, and then all of a sudden back on, 09, get to the final, they lose, then they win 11 and 12 and 14, and then there was that second generation right there, which came to expect almost every year, every other year, to be in the final, win a championship. Because this is the Galaxy and this is how we do it. Maybe the Galaxy became the New York Cosmos of this league prior to or after DC United probably was in the first 1.0 version of this league. And then it went dark, and it went dark for a long, long, long time, 10 years now. And now we have another younger generation that's embraced the club, and the older generation is coming back and saying the older generation is probably relieved, and the younger generation is probably saying, yeah, this is what it's like, and it's going to be like this all the time. And I guess me as the broadcaster, I'm trying to remind them these opportunities don't come by every day, and they're very special, and we should not take them for granted.
To that point, I would expect, the crowd came across so well Saturday against Seattle. You would expect it's going to be a sellout and then some come Saturday in MLS Cup against the Red Bulls.
Yeah, I believe that we're at that number already. From what I understand, I know they opened up the berm, and that's always signaled to me that the North Berm, when that's opened up for standing room only, for the sake of argument, that tells me it's a sellout. And the energy will be there. The energy on Saturday was no different than the other three finals that were in this building, and I expect the same thing this time around. And I believe we're going to have decent weather, so we won't have to worry about any rain or anything like that. So, I expect it's going to be a wonderful day for everybody involved. I know we'll all have a little bit of anxiety going into it, doing our thing, but the only thing we can do is broadcast the game, right?
Teams of definitely contrasting styles that will make for a very interesting game on Saturday afternoon. Joe, appreciate you coming on, giving me a couple minutes. I look forward to seeing you in person over the course of the weekend and catching up at the stadium. Thanks so much.
Thank you.